All right. Let's, speaking of drama and speaking of craziness, let's talk about Denver, which pulled off a complete stunner, even in this age where only a Luka Doncic trade can be considered a stunner. The Denver Nuggets may have, I don't know if they topped that, but they came close.
Yeah.
Just 3 games before the end of the regular season, Denver owner Josh Kroenke, he wipes out the head of the front office, Calvin Booth, and the head coach, Michael Malone, firing both of them. Josh Kroenke did an interview with team media, I should say, and basically said he was going to fire Calvin Booth and Michael Malone at the end of the season anyway. He didn't like the way the team is playing. He wants to try to give it a spark. He makes the change now. David Adelman is now the head coach. A bunch of other guys are running the front office. Where does this rank on the shockometer for you, Rachel, with Denver kind of pulling the chute on everybody this close to the end of the regular season?
I mean, it was pretty clear that this was an untenable situation, that this wasn't something that was going to be able to last, with Calvin Booth and Michael Malone not speaking to each other for stretches of the season, openly taking shots at each other. I mean, privately in ways that got filtered out to the media, ripping each other apart. I mean, that can't be good for a team. And also that it was such a clear philosophy difference of the players that Calvin Booth is bringing in and the players Michael Malone wants to play. I mean, you can't have that. And it's led to, frankly, in my opinion, malpractice by the Denver Nuggets for the past, 2 years or whatever it's been, year and 8 months or whatever, since they won the title. Not necessarily that they let the guys go who they let go, because it's Bruce Brown, they had no choice there. I mean, they could only offer him a third of what the team he went to offered him. KCP, I have a little bit more of an issue with because of his defensive presence and leadership.
And they could have brought him back if they had paid. Like, that was a matter of not being willing to put up the cash.
Wait. And so this kind of gets to my point of Calvin Booth is making decisions in the way that I assumed came from the Kroenke family, because the Kroenke family, the ownership, has shown over and over and over again, they don't consider making a huge financial investment in this team worthwhile, whether it's in the front office where they didn't keep Tim Connolly, whether it's players that they decided to let walk away over money, things like that. So I had always assumed Calvin Booth is doing the strategy that the owners want, that they want him to put a lot of stock in draft picks, try to develop young players. Young players are cheaper, and that Michael Malone might end up being the odd man out. But I just think the whole thing, everyone was behaving in a way, from the reports that have come out in the last 24 hours, in a way that just wasn't very adult. And that, we all know that Michael Malone can be pretty abrasive. He is a hard-nosed old school coach. And I think you and I embrace that. And we want the days of the old school coach back. And I think a lot of fans do too, by the way. But there's only so many nights you can hear over a 10-year period, if you're a player, that you stink. And there's many, many times that Michael Malone has walked into that locker room or publicly on the media podium said, these guys stunk at this. They can't do this. Why can't they do this? And I think that from what we're hearing out of that locker room, more on people too, maybe they want to see just what Adelman can do over this stretch to see if he's really the guy that they want to bring in next season. That certainly seems to be what's going on in Memphis. So I understand all the ingredients that got us here, but to let a head coach go 3 games before the playoffs, to say it's unprecedented is an understatement. I mean, the latest firing into the season in almost 50 years is what the research said. And even that was a little bit of a resignation. So I was shocked, floored when I heard this cross the wire, as we used to say.
This basketball season, when your favorite stars score buckets, we're alley-ooping you an opportunity to win money from watching sports with Underdog. Do you want to win up to 1,000 times your money? You can with Underdog. To play, choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats: points, assists, rebounds, and much more. You can play with as little as $1, and if you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn $1 into $1,000 with just your hoops knowledge. This week on Underdog, I'm looking at Kawhi Leonard and picking for higher than 21 points, and Tyrese Halliburton for higher than 9 assists. So download the Underdog app and sign up now using the promo code OPENFLOOR to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on the fun when you sign up with the promo code OPENFLOOR. Claim your special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon first deposit. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Yeah, I've talked to multiple people inside the organization, and they all use similar language when describing the dynamic between Calvin Booth and Michael Malone. Toxic is a word that comes up a lot. Childish is a word that comes up a lot. I mean, they have had a deteriorating relationship for more than 2 years now, to the point where they don't speak or have not been speaking. And they are not on the same page when it comes to who should be playing. Like, if you're looking for a pop culture reference, it's in a way Billy Beane and Art Howe with Moneyball, where Billy Beane was kind of saying, look, you're going to play the guys that I want you to play, and I'm going to trade away the guys or designate for assignment the guys that you won't. Now, that doesn't really work in the NBA with guaranteed contracts and how difficult trades are, but I mean, Calvin Booth tried to force, his, player philosophy on the coach, and Michael Malone bristled at it every step of the way. I mean, Mike does not like coaching young players. Not to say he can't or can't develop them. He's done that, right? Like Jamal Murray developed. Nikola Jokic developed.
He developed.
Yeah. These were all young players that were groomed to be great players by Michael Malone. But when they get to a certain level, like Michael Malone really isn't interested in playing Peyton Watson extended minutes opposite him. And some of the other guys they've got 3 or 4, ex-first round picks or quality guys that Calvin Booth liked, and Michael Malone just didn't. And that created a lot of tension within that organization, a palpable tension within the organization. And it seems crazy for Josh Kroenke to fire both these guys this late, but Josh Kroenke's a pretty hands-on guy, right? Like Josh Kroenke's around this team a lot. And I'm sure it was, visible to him. Like when your GM is not talking to your coach, and you couple that with the fact they have stunk since the All-Star break. They had lost 4 in a row going into the firing. The defense had gone in the tank. They were losing positioning in the standings every single day, to the point where it was just as likely that they'd be a play-in team as they would be a straight playoff team. I get what he did there. I don't know that it's going to work. I mean, I like David Adelman too. I've known him for a long time. I think he's a future head coach either in Denver or somewhere, but the idea that just, again, it sounds bad, but like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic is not going to change things all that much. I just think Josh Kroenke believed that he didn't have any other choice, that this team was like, one level away from sinking, to continue with the Titanic metaphor. Like that this team was just going down, and the only thing he could do was kind of hit that break glass in case of emergency button, let everybody go, and see if a young coach who obviously is well liked in that locker room can make any kind of difference.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether part of it was preemptive. He's come out since and said he was going to get rid of both of them in the offseason. That sparked in my head, maybe he wanted to make sure Michael Malone didn't make a run with this team. That if this team somehow, because Jokic is so great, has a strong through the second round performance, and they get to 7 games and they give it all they have, and they just can't quite beat who becomes the eventual Western Conference representative in the finals, it's harder to fire Michael Malone. And so part of me feels like this was a little bit preemptive of, we're not going to give him any more platform when right now things look pretty bad, and then we'll look better getting rid of him than if they have a somewhat successful playoff run. I don't know. It's a little conspiracy theory corner, but it did cross my mind when I heard him say that they were going to get rid of him anyway in the summer. The problem with all of this, I don't think it's as much rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, because I do think that this, you and I both said it, that this relationship couldn't stand. Like, it was breaking the franchise apart, that they had all these problems. So it did need to get fixed. But the biggest problem is that Jamal Murray is not playing. The biggest problem is your number 2 guy, who makes everything else work, is out again with an injury. And if he can come back for the playoffs, and they're not sure if he can come back right at the start and be the guy that we saw in the second half of the season, this team is going to turn around and do a lot better no matter who's coaching them. And when he's out, and because he's out, and if he's out for a long stretch, they will not do well. I mean, that is really the biggest factor. I'm not saying that the coach-GM relationship wasn't also important and important to fix, but the biggest thing is Jamal Murray is not playing. I mean, that's really what's been determining a lot of what's going on with this team.
Yeah, and part of the reasons for their struggles at in the last couple of months. I mean, Jokic has been out too. He missed 5 games. They went 2-3 in those games. So when you lose your best player, when a guy like Jamal Murray goes out, like there are struggles. I mean, I do think that you look at like Russell Westbrook's become kind of a big example of reasons for why there were some problems. Like Michael Malone trusts Russell Westbrook more than he trusts Jalen Pickett, right? Like this is the fact. Like Russell Westbrook, for all of his warts, had been around for a long time, made deep playoff runs, done things that some of these other young guys have not done. Mm-hmm. You can live by Westbrook and die by Westbrook. That happens. But I think Malone was much more comfortable playing him than, it wasn't going to change that philosophy, not for Jalen Pickett and not for anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that they made the change, right? That the change was not surprising. To Josh Kroenke's point, the change was coming no matter what. It's just that they decided things were so toxic right now that with 3 games left in the regular season, they had to shake things up. I don't know who they're going to hire this summer. Josh said there's going to be a national search for that job. I would assume that whoever interviews for that job is going to wonder, like, what does Nikola Jokic want? Like, is Nikola Jokic all the way in? Because, look, Jokic is a loyal guy, seems like a very low-maintenance guy, but he's not stupid. Like, he's looked at this team over the last couple of years, and he has seen the roster erosion. He has seen Bruce Brown and Jeff Green go, seen Kentavious Caldwell-Pope go. Maybe he sees something in these young guys and sees them being able to step up in the next 2 or 3 years to, help him win a championship. But this team leans on its starting lineup and its superstar more than any team in the NBA, or at least top-tier team in the NBA. Like, when they get to the playoffs, maybe David Adelman will mix things up, but I looked at this team going to the playoffs as having like a 6-man rotation, like maybe 7. Like they were going to lean heavy on their starters, like 40 minutes a game on their starters in the postseason. Is Nikola Jokic all in for that? And I think that's a realistic question. Like, I certainly wouldn't trade Nikola Jokic, not unless I absolutely positively had to. He's 30. And he's the kind of guy that could probably play like this till he's 40. He's got a game that looks like it's going to age pretty well. But I think he's
the best player in the world. He might not win MVP this year, but he is the best player in the world. And I don't know anyone who doesn't think that in basketball circles.
No, I agree. He's not going to win MVP. We'll do that next week, but he's not going. He's going to come in runner up. We all know that. But I think Josh Kroenke, who apparently told Jokic early on this, brought him into the circle before he told everybody else, which was smart. There's going to have to be a conversation there. Because no GM is going to take this job if on day 1, Nikola Jokic goes, you know what? I don't want to play here anymore. I want to be traded.
I mean, this is where it gets back to my opinion that this has been malpractice around him since they won the title. It really is at the owner's feet that I'm delivering that accusation. It's because they are not willing to overinvest the way the Celtics were on a championship team. And by the way, it's not spending money just to spend money. We've seen in Phoenix, just spending endless amounts of money doesn't work. But spending money on the right pieces and being willing while you are riding a run of a championship team with the best player on earth and not throwing all of your money into that when you are a billionaire. Just it's a disservice to the game, frankly. Like being the ownership that is the steward of Nikola Jokic, he deserves better. Those fans deserve better. And the idea that he's on a cost-cutting team that is never going to put as complete a roster around him as the Celtics, as we will see the Lakers do, etc., it's just a great shame because this is a guy who could win multiple titles. And I'm not sure he's going to get the chance to win even another one if they keep going with sort of the strategy that ownership seems to want them to go.
And it's not just the Celtics either. I mean, you look at, like during the LeBron years in Cleveland, like they just spent just to build him a winner. Hell, Milwaukee right now has been spending and spending around Giannis Antetokounmpo to, continue to build a winner. Like that's a flaw with the Nuggets. And look, when I've tweeted out something to this effect, like, Nuggets fans have come back and said Christian Brown is great. Like Christian Brown is a good player, right? Like, but like these things are not mutually exclusive. Like you need KCP and Christian Brown because if Christian Brown is your starter, then all of a sudden you're one less good player deep on the bench. You need both. And I think that will go down as one of the big mistakes this franchise made in the Jokic era. You bring back KCP, have Brown on the bench, all of a sudden you're 7 deep at least going to the postseason with guys that Michael Malone would have trusted. You don't, and now look, this is ultimately where you are.